Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel Code for Tech Solutions. Today in this video we are going to cover a very interesting topic, and our today's topic is building a full stack web app with React.js, Python and PostgreSQL. It's a complete guide and tutorial which will help us to create a full stack application with React.js as a front end, Python as a back end and PostgreSQL as a database. So these are some prerequisites we need to install or be ready with to create this full stack application. As an editor, we are going to use Visual Studio Code, and these are some front end technologies we are going to use. We are going to use React.js with version 18 plus, and Reactable and Axios libraries we are going to use. On the backend side, we are going to use Python and Django framework, Django REST framework, and this is the Python library which is PCCOP G2. This library will help us to connect and interact with the PostgreSQL database from Python application. And as an database, we are going to use PostgreSQL, and we are going to use pgadmin tool, which will help us to create database on the backend side. It will provide a user interface to create a database on the PostgreSQL side. So this is about prerequisites we need to create this full stack application. So these are some steps like which we are going to follow. These are some points which we are going to see in sequence. Like first we will see the architecture diagram. Next I will show you the small user interface demo. Next we are going to create the database on the PostgreSQL side, and these are some backend steps which we are going to follow. Like we will create a backend application using Python Django. Next we will configure PostgreSQL database. Next we are going to implement CRUD operations, and we will create a model serializer view and configure the URL part, and finally we will test our backend application using Django REST framework user interface. These are some steps which we are going to follow on the backend side. On the front end side, like we are going to create our React front end application using Vite, and we are going to create a table using React table, populate columns and data in that, and we are going to create functionality, API functionality on the front end side, which will integrate with the backend APIs, and we are also going to implement some advanced features like search filter, searching, sorting, pagination with the help of functions and hooks available in Reactable library. Finally, we will test our application end to end through UI browser and verify the result. This is about all the steps which we are going to implement from scratch. So this is the architecture part. Like we are going to create a student system architecture, in which on the front end side we are going to create a student underscore web application using React.js, and in that we are going to use Reactable library and Axios. With the help of Reactable library, we are going to use hooks and functions available in it, and we are going to create a table, populate it with columns and data, and we are going to implement CRUD operations using the functions available in this library. Apart from that, we are also going to implement the advanced features like searching, sorting, pagination with the help of this Reactable library. We are going to install the Axios library. With the help of Axios, we are going to give a call to our backend REST APIs from our React.js application. So this is about the front end application which we are going to create using React.js. On the backend side, we are going to create our student hyphen service uh, application using Python and Django framework, and we are going to use Django REST framework. So Django framework and Django REST framework, these are the web frameworks which we are going to use to implement to create the web application, and we are these frameworks will help us to create and build the REST API on the backend side. So this is about the backend application which we are going to create using Python Django. This backend application will connect and interact with the database, and on the database side we are going to use PostgreSQL as a database, and this is the library PCCOP-G2 binary we are going to use with which we are going to connect with the PostgreSQL database. So this is about the overall architecture we are going to see and implement from scratch. Please do not forget to like, subscribe and share, because at the end of the video you may forget. So I will request you all to please subscribe and share the same. Now I will show you a small demo of how our application will look like. So this is the interface of our application which we are going to implement. Now this is the header part, and this is the add and edit panel which we are going to use to add and edit a student. And this is the search filter from where we are going to search the table data. And this is the table in which we have, these are the columns, and this is the table data along with the action buttons like edit and delete. And the below the table we can see this is the pagination part with all the buttons like first, previous, next and last. Now first we can add one entry. Now let us see, we can add one entry. Let's say we can add Vijay, and we can add some Vijay's email, and we can add some roll number, like let's say for roll number we can say it's 40. We can add, we can check. Now we can see the Vijay is added as the last record. Seems good. This is about addition, how we can add the different records. Now let me add one more record. Let's say Sham, and here we can add Sham's Gmail, and roll number we can say 41. Now we can see the record is getting added successfully. If we want to cross check on the database side, like this is our student details table, and here we can go to schemas. Inside public schema we have tables, and under table we have this our API student table. Now we can choose the select script and see what data is there. Now it should show the last two records which we have just added. Yes, we can see it is showing as expected. Okay, fine. Now next thing, like we can, this is about addition. Now let us see, we can edit some record. Now we can edit this record. Once we click on edit, and this add button label will get changed, and the record will get populated at here. Now we can change this, like we can add like Shaurya, and here we can use the email for Shaurya. We can keep the roll number as is, and we can update. Now let us check. We can see the record is updated successfully. Likewise, we can update any record we want. Now this is about the updation part and addition part we are done with. Now if you want to cross check in the database side, we can see the last record, it should show with the updated one. Seems good, it is showing. Now next thing what we can do, like we can check the delete functionality. Like once we click on delete button, like it will ask for the confirmation. Once we click on OK button, so the record will get deleted. Seems good, it is showing the record is deleted. We can refresh the database. Now we can see the last record is deleted. Likewise, we can delete any record we want. So this is about the CRUD operations we are going to implement. Now let us see the filter, search filter. Let us enter the letter. Accordingly the data will get filtered out. Let's say it's a Vivek, related to VI, it will show all the categories. Now for Sachin, seems good, and let's say roll number starting with 1 and 11, seems good, or student ID, so it is again taking. So this is about the filter part. We can filter the records on basis of what text we enter. Fine. Next thing, like we are going to also implement the sorting functionality on table. Like we can sort on basis of name, on basis of email, in ascending and descending order. This is for roll number as well. So this is about sorting functionality which we are going to implement with the help of React table library and hooks. Fine. Now next thing, last we have the pagination section. Now we can see we are on the first page, so the first and previous button is disabled, which is as expected. We have set the page size as a 4. On every page it is showing 4 records. We can modify the page size as we want. Now once we click on next button, it will show the next 4 records. Likewise, it will keep on showing, and you can see this count page index will get incremented once we click on next button. Okay, fine. Now once we reach the last page, like next and last button will get disabled, which is as expected. Similar way, once we click on previous button, it will take us to the previous page. Likewise, it will keep on taking us until we reach the first page. Now once we click on last button, it will take us to the last page, and once we click on first button, it will take us to the first page. This is about all the searching, sorting and pagination part along with the CRUD operations we are going to implement in this video. So I will request you to please watch this from start to end so that you will not miss anything in between. Now let us create our database using PostgreSQL. So we need to open the pgadmin 4 tool, which provides the user interface for us. Now here we need to enter the password, whatever password you have set at the time of installation. You can see under this PostgreSQL 16 we have three options: databases, login, group roles and table spaces. Now if we expand the databases, we can see we have these many databases existed. Now if you want to create a new database, we can right click on database and choose create database option. Now here we can give some database name, like we are going to create student details database, and this is the owner or user, which is Postgres. Now we can see our database is created successfully, and here if we expand this, like we have schemas under our database, which is student underscore details, and under schemas inside public we have tables. Okay, now right now there is no table because we have not created any table, and we are not going to create a table because on the backend Python application, inside Python application we are going to create model, and once we execute the migration command, based on how model how we have designed the model, the table will get created automatically inside our PostgreSQL database. Now so we have created the database. Now next thing what we can do, like we can create our backend Python application using Django framework. So these are some steps which we are going to follow to create our Python Django backend application. Now here we can open one new terminal from here, or you can click on this plus button. Now here first of all we can create one virtual environment using command python -m, and this is the command, and here we can give our virtual environment name. You can give any name. So the importance of virtual environment and why it is needed, so I have created a dedicated video on this, so you can refer that. In short, like I can tell you, just to install project specific dependencies, we can use this virtual environment, so that when we are working on a multiple project, dependencies or libraries will not interfere with each other, and it will not interfere with global installation as well. So if we are not using the virtual environment, that means we are installing libraries like globally. So you can see this virtual environment folder is created, and inside that we have include lib and script folder. Now we need to activate this, like we first need to go to virtual environment folder. Inside that we have scripts, and here we can use this activate button. Now we can see this virtual environment prompt, that means it is activated. Now next thing, like we are going to install the dependencies first, like using command pip install, and we can install Django REST framework, and here we can use Python library for connecting with the PostgreSQL database. This is the pcopg2 binary. Okay, so once these dependency is installed, that will be available inside this lib folder, or you can check by executing pip list command and see what all libraries are installed. This is Django, and we can see the libraries are installed successfully. Now here we can use this pip list command and check what all things are installed. So this is the Django framework we can use for Python web development, and this is the Django REST framework, which will help us to create and build REST API on the backend application. And this is the Python library with which we can connect with the PostgreSQL database. Okay, fine. So the dependency is in place now. Now next thing, like we can create our backend application, backend Python application using Django framework. To create that, we can use the command Django admin, and we can use start project, and here we can give our project name. So in our case, we can give student underscore service. Now we can see the project folder is created with all the default files and folders, including manage.py file. Now let us go to the project folder first, which is a student underscore service. Now inside this project, we can create our application with this command like manage.py, and we can create application with start app, and here we can give our application name. We can give any name, so I will keep API as an application name. Now we can see this API application is created, wherein we are going to keep our REST APIs. Whatever backend API we are going to create, that will be stored inside this application folder. Okay, fine. Next thing, like we need to configure in settings.xml project specific setting. Inside this project folder, we have settings.py. First, we need to add installed apps, like we have our REST framework. Next thing, like we can add our application name, which is API. Next thing, like we need to configure our database stuff, like by default the Python application is using the SQLite, so we need to use PostgreSQL. So this is the engine we need to add, and here we need to add our database name. In our case, it's a student underscore details. Next, we need to add user, and our user, whatever user you have set, you need to add. Next thing, like password. Next, like you can add host name. Host is a local host, and you can add port name. And for PostgreSQL database, we have 5432 as a default port. We can save it. Now with this, we have configured our Postgre database stuff inside this databases. Okay, so this is the engine name, this is the database name, username, password, host, and port name. Seems good. We can save it. Now next thing, what we can do, we can create our model inside our application. This is the models.py, and here we can create our model class name. Like we can give student as a model class name, and here we can use models.model. Here we can mention the what all fields we are going to use, like we can use models.char field for name, and here we can use max length, and we can mention some length. So this is for name attribute or field. Similar way, we can add few more fields, like this is for email, and here we can use roll number, and here instead of char field we can use integer field. Next thing, for string interpretation, we can use this str method, and here we can return like self.name, and we can save it. So we have successfully created student model in our backend application. Next thing, we can create one serializer inside this API application. We can give our serializer a name. This is serializers.python file, and inside this we can use, like this is the REST framework, and we can import serializers from that. Next, like we are going to import model, and our model is a student. Now we can create one serializer class with name student serializer, and here we can use model serializer. We can use class meta, and here we can use what is our model, which is student. Next, like what all fields we want to use for serialization, we need to mention all fields we can take for now, and we can save it. With this we have created student serializer. Now why this serializer is needed? To convert our model instance into the JSON format, we require a serializer, and for that reason we have created this serializer, and we have mentioned what is the model name for that and what all fields we want to participate in serializer. Okay, fine. So with this we have created serializer successfully. Next thing, we can go for migration part. Now we can run this migration command so that it will prepare database schema, and this is the command we can use, like python manage.py make migrations. Okay, so here this is the REST framework, and inside this model, so we can save it first. Let us go to settings.py and we can save it. Here we have reached. Okay, here k is missing, there is a spelling mistake. Okay, fine. Now let us run the migration command once again. Now it will prepare the schema for migration. Now as of now we can check the database part. Here this is the student details database, and here this is the table. We can refresh it. As of now it has not created any table. Now to create a table we need to execute one more command, which is migrate, so that the migration will get completed. Now you can see the tables are created. Now let us check on the backend side. Now we can see it has created tables, and this is our student API student table, which has these many columns like ID, name, email, and roll number. Seems good. Now our table is created. Now if you want to check the data inside this one, we can use this script and select script, and we can check the table should be empty at present. We can run this command. It should show only columns. Okay, seems good. It is showing only columns, no data is there. Now next thing what we can do, we can create the view. Now we can use we can use REST framework, and we can import view set. Next, like we can import our model, which is student. We can import serializer, and which is student serializer. Next thing, like we can create one like student view set, and here we can use view sets dot, we can use model view set, and for this we can use query set as an our student object dot, we can call objects and all methods on this object, and we can use serializer class, which is student serializer. In our case we can save it. Now why we need to create this student view set, to create a view set we have a number of ways. Like view set is required to complete our backend application, and with this model view set, like we have various ways to create a view using Django REST framework. Like we can use function based view, class based view, customs, or mixin, and there is a API view as well, and this is a model view set. This is one of the approach. Now why we have chosen this? Because this is the best and the most recommended approach, which is a popular for creating a view using the Django REST framework. And with this model view set, it will create actions automatically for retrieving, updating, deleting, and creating the actions for our student. In short, like it will create all the actions automatically. We do not need to write much code for that. With this, we have created our view set. Now next thing, like we need to configure the URLs. For that, first we need to create application specific URLs like with this urls dot python file, and here we can use like django dot urls, and we can import path and include. Next, from like views, we can import our student view set, and next, like we can import our we can import the REST framework dot router, and we can import default router. Now here we can create one router which is using the default router. And next thing, like we need to register our view set with this router. For that, we can call this register method, and here we can mention the endpoint, which is students, and here we can mention our view set, which is a student view set. With this line, we have registered our student view set with this router, which is a default router in our case. Now we can add URL patterns, and here we can mention path. Inside that, we can use this is the empty path, or we can use API. Okay, not empty, it's API, and here we can include our router.urls. That's it, and we can save it. Now we have created URLs for applications successfully. Similar way, we need to configure the project specific URL. For that, we can add one more entry at here, and this is for our application. We need to include the URL, and this is a blank, and here we need to include our API URL or application URLs. Herein we can add include import. Seems good. Now we have configured the URL successfully. Now next thing, like we can create a super user. So why we create a super user? Like in Django, like super user is a user account with all the admin privileges. Like it allows us to access Django admin, and it allows us to access manage our project data and models without having to directly interact with the database. Okay, fine. Now let us create the super user using command python manage.py, and this is the command for create super user. This is the command to create a super user. Now here you can give any username, like let's say test, or email address you can mention, and password you can give. You need to repeat the same password, and here for now we are bypassing the password validation. We are just creating the one super user. Yes, we can see we have created super user successfully. Now next thing, like finally we can run our application and test our application. Okay, so we can use python manage.py and run server command. With this, it will run our development server. Seems good. Now you can see it has started development server. We can click on this link. Now to add our URLs, we need to go to our, this is the project URL wherein it is pointing to API URLs. Now let us go to API URLs. Here it starts with API, and this is the endpoint students. Now same we need to add it here like API, and this is the students. Okay, we need to remove this third one. Okay, fine. Now this is the Django REST framework user interface, and right now it is showing the empty list because we have not added any record as of now. Let us add one entry from here, like let us add one entry, let's say Sachin, and here we can add Sachin's Gmail, and for roll number we can take 11. So we can see one entry is added successfully. Similar way, let us add one more entry, let us say it's a Vivek, and this is for Vivek Gmail, and we can add roll number as a 12. Seems good. Now we have added two records, like we can see. Now let us add one more record, like let's say it's a Robert, and we can add Robert's Gmail, and we can add 13 as a roll number. Seems good. Now we have three records in place. Now to fetch a particular record, we can simply pass the ID and it will fetch the particular record. This is for third, and it has fetched a third record. Okay. Now we can see it is pre-populated with the text boxes are populated with this record. Now if you want to modify or update this record, we can simply modify from here, and let us keep the roll number as is, and we can update it. Now we can see Robert is updated with Peter successfully. Now if you see the list, it is showing three records with the updated record, which is a Peter. Now if you check the database, like it should show three records. Yes, it is showing three records. Now let us delete the last one. Now for that, or any record, you just need to pass the ID. Now here you can see this is the delete option. Once we click on delete button, confirmation, it will, the record will get deleted. Now it is showing only two records because third one we have already deleted. Now let us check into the database part. Now we can see it is showing only two records because third one we have just deleted. So with this, our CRUD operations are working fine for backend. Now let us let us do one more thing, because these are the backend application is working fine and we have tested. But what if our React application, if it want to connect with this backend application, that time there may be chances that it will, we may face the course origin issue. Just to resolve that, we need to add some we need to add the course related stuff in this. Like first of all, we need to install the package, like there is a Django course headers package is available, so we can install it. Now we can check pip list command, course headers is there. Now we can go to the settings.xml file, and here we need to add one more entry, like it's a course headers, and in the middleware also we need to add one entry, like course headers dot, we can say it's a middleware, and dot we can say course middleware. Fine. And course headers, make sure you are not making any spelling mistake, and we can save it. Now this is about installed apps and middleware we are done with. Now next thing, we need to enable the origin. So for that we need to add here, like we can say course allowed origins, and here similar way in our Spring Boot project we used to add a cross origin, and inside that we used to add all the host names or domain names. Similar way we are going to add our URLs, React.js URLs, like HTTP localhost, and here we can use 55371. Okay, so this is the URL for allowed host, which is the our React.js URL. We need to confirm whether it is the same, and accordingly we need to modify that. Okay, if you want to allow all origins, like we can use this option. We have course allow all origins, and here we can mention as a true. So this option is there to allow all origins. Okay, fine. Now this much is enough. We are done with our backend application, and we have added course related stuff. successfully, so that whenever our React.js application will try to connect with the backend application, there should not be any coarse origin issue. Now we are done with our backend application. Now we have successfully created our backend application using Python. Now let us create our front-end application using React.js. These are some steps which we are going to follow to create our React.js application. Now this terminal tab is for React is for Python application. Similar way, we can open one more terminal which is for React application. Now here we can create our React application using command npm create with @latest, and we can give our React.js application name. Let's say student underscore web. Here we can select React and JavaScript, and here we can go to our project folder first, which is a student underscore web, and here we can install the dependencies using command npm install. Now we can see in the left pane it has created student underscore web React.js project, and with all the default files and folders, and this is the package.json wherein all our dependencies will be included. Now the dependency uh, is getting completed, installation part. Okay, fine. Now let us run our application using command npm run dev. We can copy this URL and open the browser. Now here we can see our React.js application is running fine, and the count is getting increased. So this is our default view for React.js application. Now next thing, like we can clear the existing content and let us make a fresh start for our application. Now here we can remove the existing context from here content. Next we can remove this unwanted part and this unwanted unused imports, and we can save it. Now we can go to app.css, and from this file also we are going to remove the CSS part. We can go to index.html. From here, like we can remove this React.js icon, and here we can give some meaningful header part, like this is full stack with React.js, like we can say Python and PostgreSQL, or here we can add Django as well in bracket. Seems good. Now this is the header which we want to show as a title. Now next thing what we can do, we can create our root container. We can create one div, and here we can give one class name. Let's say this is the student container, which is a root container. Inside this div we can add one header with h3, and this is our header. Now next, like what we can do here, we can add one more div, and this is for, let's say we can add class name, add edit panel. Now after this we can add one input search for search functionality, and inside this we can say input search, and here we can add for id, and we can add some placeholder. We can say search students here, and here we can give some class name, like we can say input, or we can say in search. Okay, input search, fine. So we can see we have created this header and all. Now let us add some css part for all this. We can copy. This is the main container. We have h3 header. Next, like we have add edit pn, add edit panel, and finally we can check, like this is add edit pn, and this is the in search, like this is the input search text box, fine. Now here we can add some width, like we can mention 580 like 7 pixel somewhere, and height we can use fit content. Next we can add some margin left, let's say 75 pixel. For h3 we can add some color, so we can take this color, seems good. Now add an edit panel, we can add some width which is similar to 587 as above for the main root, and here we can add some height, let's say 25 pixel. Height we can use something like 61 pixel somewhere, and we can add border 1 pixel solid. Next we can add background color, seems good. Now it is showing. We can take some lighter color, fine. Now this is about the background color. Now here what we can do, here we can add some, for input we can add some margin top, let's say 25 pixel. Next, like we can add some border 1 pixel solid, and we can add border radius, let's say 5 pixel, and we can save it. And we need to add some height, let's say 25 pixel, and we can use some width, like let's say to 11 pixels somewhere, seems good. Similar way we can add some background color it here, so we can use, fine, seems good. Now we have added some small CSS for all these. Now let us add input box and label inside this add and edit panel. We can create one div. Inside this we can give this div name, class name, like add edit pn div, and inside this we can first add one label, and this is for name, and this is for student name. We can add one line break. Next we can add one input, like let's say text, and here we can add name. For id again we can add name, and we can add some class name, like add edit input. That's it. So this is for name, and we can save it. Seems good. Now let us add some CSS for this one. And next we can copy the input, which is this one. So here we can add margin left is in 5 pixel, and we can use like a display as an inline block we can take, and we can save it. Now for this add and edit input box, what we can do, we can add border and border radius. We can copy this part, and for height we can take 25 pixel, and for width we can take somewhere 140 pixel. Seems good. Now we can add some background color. Fine. Now this is about the name. Similar way, now we have added the CSS, and this is about name, and the same we need to repeat for next header or next property, which is for email. This is the email, and here we can add email, and here same we can copy, can save it. Seems good. This is for email. Similar way we can repeat for roll number. And we can save it. Next to this, like we can add one button, and this is for add button, and here we can add some class name. You can say add btn. Similar way we can add one more button for cancel, and here we can say cancel btn. This is for cancel, and we can add cancel label. Seems good. Now this is add button, and this is cancel button. Now let us add some small CSS for this add and cancel button. Now we can use this border and border radius, height and width. All this we can copy and edit it here. Now for like here we can use width. We can take some small width like 60 pixel for add, and here instead of height we can use font size. Let's say font size we can take 11 pixel, and line height we can use which is, let's say, 15 pixel, and we can save it. Seems good. This is about add. Now let us add some margin left, which is 5 pixel, and we can save it. Now this is about add, and for add for this, like we can add some background color. Let us say we can add this color. This is more bright, so we can take some lighter color, choose. Seems good. So this is the add. This is the add. Similar way we can add for cancel button, and we can save it. Seems good. Now for cancel button we can take some other color. Let's say red kind of color. Now we can take some bit lighter color. Fine. So this is add, and this is cancel. Now we are done with our header, add edit panel, and this is the search filter input text box. Now let us add the table part. Now after inside this div, this is the main div. Before the div ends, we can add table part. This is the main table. We can add class name, like we can say std table. and here inside this we have two main things. First is a t head and next is a t body. Now inside t head we need to add rows, and inside rows we need to render the header part. And similar way for t body we need rows, and inside that we need to render the data part with td. So this is the general structure of any table. So we have added, we can save it. Now next thing what we can do, like we are going to use React table library, and we are going to use hooks and tables available in that. So let us first install the library so that we can make use of hooks and functions available in it. We can use npm install React table, and what next we need Axios to give a call to our backend REST APIs. Now we can open our package.json file to check if the libraries are installed. Yes, we can see Axios and this is the React table are installed. Seems good. Now let us keep our application running. Fine. Now let us come to our app.jsx. Now here, first of all, what we can do, we need to import. First we can import our like this is the use table hook we can use, and we can take it from the React table. Next thing we are going to import star as React from React. Next we are going to import Axios as well. That's it. Now first we can save it. Now next, like what we can do, first we will create one constant which will store the student data. So let's say students array, and here we can say set students, and we can initialize it with some empty array. Next thing we can define one more constant for, let's say, columns, and for columns we are going to use like react.useMemo, and here we are going to initialize it with, inside this we can add header part, like this is the header, and for header, first header we can say this is the student ID, and for this we need to add accessor, and for accessor we can say its ID. So this is for first column. This student ID sorry, this is okay, this student ID which will get shown on the column header as an column header, and this is the ID with which we are going to access the column data. Okay, fine. So here we need to put comma, seems good. Now this is the first header. Similar way we can add few more columns. Now next we can use name, and accessor we can add name. Here we can add email, and for accessor we can use email, and here we can use roll number, and same for accessor we can say it's a roll number. Seems good. Now we have columns as well. Now let us create one more constant for data, and for data we can use react.useMemo, and we can use for data, like we have students, and we can initialize it with some dependency array. Fine. Now next thing what we can do, next thing, like we need to create a table, constant for table, and here we can use the hook which is like use table, and inside which we can pass columns first, next as an data which will store students. Okay, fine, and we can save it. Now we have everything like students to hold the student array data, and we have columns and data which will hold the students, and this is the table. So instead of table we can use the functions and hooks available in that exact functions, like we can use get table props, get table body props, and we can use header groups, rows, and we can say prepare row. So this much is enough for now. As we need, we can keep on adding. Now we need to render the header part first. Now let us see how we can use these hooks into for generating the table part. Now here first of all we can use inside this we can use like get table props. It should be 3 dots, sorry, okay, it should be 3 dots. So this is the get table props. Fine. And after t head like we can use the header groups dot, we can map on this, and here for each header group we can iterate it on that, and we can like render the row, and we can cut this row and add inside this. Now for each row we need to use the hooks, the function which we can use, like this is the header group dot, we can add get header group props, and for this like we can use some key, and here we can use id for this key. Now to render these header groups we can use like header groups dot headers, and we can map on this, and for each column we can say we are going to render the header part. Now here we can cut this and we can add it here, and to render the headers we can use like this is the column dot get header props, and we can add some key, can use column dot id, and to actually render the header we can use column dot render, and what we are going to render, it's a header. And what is this header? This header is nothing but what we have mentioned it here. This will get shown on the screen. Okay, fine. So this is about column rendering the column part. We are done with inside this head, t head. Now let us check how it goes, like how it works. Now we can see it is showing the headers. Okay, seems good. Now next thing what we can do, we can add our table body part so that we can check. Now here we can use get table body props, Now here we can use we have rows dot, we can map on this, and for each row we can iterate on that, and we are going to cut this row and add inside this so that we can render a row. Fine. So first thing what we can do, like we need to prepare a row, and here we can pass this row, and next it will return a row. Okay, so for this we can cut this row and add inside this return part. Fine. Now we have this row for generating the data. Now here we can use the hooks, which function we can use, this is row dot get row props, and here we can use some key, and we can say row dot id. Now for each row dot cells we can map on this, and we can say for each cell we are going to iterate on this, and we can cut this part and add into this one. Here we are going to render the data. Data is nothing but the cell data. Okay, now here we can use the function, we can say this is cell dot get cell props. This function we can use, and we can add some key, like it's a cell dot id, and to render the actual data we can use inside this bracket we can use cell dot render, and what we are going to render, it's a cell like data we are going to render. Now we can save it. Now let me format it. Fine, now we can save it. Now it is still not showing any data, so let us because we have not added any get API, so let us add the get API part here. Now here we can use add get all students, and here we can call axios dot get method, and here we can mention our backend URL. This URL we can copy and add it here, and after this we are going to sorry, not it here, sorry, it here, and after this we are going to collect. Now here after this we are going to use API slash students, and here we are going to collect the response, and this is the response, and we are going to log the response dot data. And next thing what we need to do, we need to set students as an response dot data. This list whatever we are getting as a response data, we are setting to the as an student data. Okay, now we can save it. Now still it is not showing any data because we have not given any call to this get all students. Okay, so we can use react, and this is the use effect, and we can give a call to get all students, and here we can initialize it with some dependency here, and we can save it. Now we can see it is showing data. Seems good. Now uh, this is like our get API is working fine. Now let us add some table CSS. Now this is our table. Here we have this table class. Now let us add some CSS for this table class. Here we can add some margin top first. Let's say 12 pixel. Next we can add width, same as 587, like what we have taken. 587 seems good. Same width we can take, and here we can use height. For height we can use fit content. We can use border 1 pixel solid, and we can use border like collapse, and we can take collapse so that there will not be any border redundant, and we can save it and see how it looks. Seems good. Now here we can align the text to the center. We can save it. Seems good. So this is about table. Now we can add the header, and for the header we can add the border. So we can copy this part, and after this, like, we can add font size, let's say 15 pixel. Next we can add line height, let's say 18 pixel, and we can add some background color. So for background color we can take some light blue color. We can take. Seems good. Now this is about head. Similar way we can use we can add for some even rows, we can add some color. Nth row child we can use E1, and here we can add some background color. Let's say we can add coral. Let's say now we can take some lighter color. Seems good. Now it seems good. So this is about some CSS part. Now let us focus on our like add student part, post API. For that, first of all, we need to, whenever we enter any text state here like this, it should be captured in some constant. So for that we can define one constant, like let us say after this we can define one constant, and we can say it's a student data, and here we can use set student data, and we can use state, and here we can use, like, first we can use name. We can assign empty blank for image, and for roll number fine, and we can save it. Now we have this constant which will hold whatever text we enter into this one. Now we need to use as a value into the text boxes. So this is for name. Now here we can add value, and we can use name. Now this is the value, but what if, like, whenever we change this text, accordingly it should handle the changed data. For that we can use on change, and here we can say a handle change event we need to capture. Now here we need to define one constant for handle change. We can define constant for handle change, and here we can set student data, and for that we can use, it's a student data we are going to set, and here we can use e dot target dot name, and we are going to set with e dot target dot value. That's it. Can save it. Now we have added it for name. Similar way we need to add it for email and our roll number. So this is the email and this is the text for email, text input, and this is the roll number, and here we can add for this input which is for roll number. Now here we can change it as an email, and this is for roll number, and we can save it. Now let us do one thing. It here we can log the data and check how it shows. Only student data we are going to show. Now let us see here. This is our browser. Now here once we enter something, so it is capturing into the student data. Seems good. That means it is working fine. Now once we enter something, it will get captured into the student data. Now once we click on add button, it should submit the data, or it should create one new student. So for that, this is our add button, and here we can use on click, and here we can say handle add edit, because this button we are going to use for add and update purpose or edit purpose. Now let us define one constant for this one, and here can use prevent default. Now here we are going to use like sorry, this is the bracket should be like this one, and we can use prevent default, and as we are going to add it, this should be a sync, and here we are going to give call to, we can use await, and for Axios, like we can copy this part first and add in it here, and instead of get we can use post, and here we need to add our data, which is let's say student data. Whatever we enter it here, that we need to pass, and we do not need to set to the student list. This much is enough. Now let us check how it works. We have added it, and this is the post. Fine. Now here we can add one entry, let's say Robert, and here we can add email for the Robert, and for the roll number we can take 13, and we can click on add button. Now the record is getting added only after we refresh it. Now what we can do here, we can give call to our get all students, but instead of giving a call we can write one function, because what text we enter it here, that should get cleared as well. So for that reason we can give write one function like clear all, and here we can define one constant, and here we can give a call to this get all inside this clear all, and before we give a call to get all students we need to clear this. Okay, so for that what we can do, we can copy this part, and here we can say set student data, and here we are going to clear it. Okay, now let us check, like once we let us add one more record, like let's say David, and we can add David email, and roll number we can use 14, and we can add it. Now we can see the data is getting cleared, data is cleared, and as well as the record is added without even refreshing. That means it is working fine. Seems good. Now next thing what we can do, like to achieve the edit and delete functionality. Before we go for that, now let us see once this is the cancel button. Seems good. Fine. First thing, we need to add the action buttons for edit and delete purpose. So let us do that. So this is our last column. Now let us add action buttons. We can give comma at here, and here we can say it's a edit, and here for edit we can add some ID, and it's an edit, and for accessor we can use edit, and after this we can use like it's a cell, and for cell so we can use props, like props. Inside this we can add button, and we can say it's a edit button, and here we can add some class name, like we can say edit btn. We can save it and see, yes, it is showing the edit button. Similar way we can add one more header for delete button, and here we can use, this is for delete, and we can copy it, and this is the delete. Can change the class name as well. Now we have edit and delete. Now let us add some small CSS part for this one, like for edit button. Now we can copy the border and border CSS radius part, this much. We can copy this, and here font size we can take for edit button, like let's say 10, and here for line height we can use 12. Seems good. Now here we can use width as an 50 pixel. Fine. Now let us add some background color, like background color we can add this one, can take. Fine. Seems good. Now this is the background color for this text. This is for edit. Similar way we can add for delete part, and for delete, like you can say this is the delete button. Seems good. Now for delete, what we can do, we can change this color, and we can take some other color. Can take some lighter color. Seems good. Now it is looking good. Now this is the delete, or else we can take some color from here. Fine. Seems good. So this is edit, and this is the delete button. Now next thing, once we click on this edit, the record should get populated it here. So for that, and this label should get changed. Instead of add, it should show update. Now let us do that. Now this is our add button, and here what we can do, we can check we have our student data dot if the id is there, in that case we are going to show update. If id is there, that means the record is existed. In that case we should go for update, or else we should go for addition. Now let us see how it shows. Once we click on edit, it should show update. Okay, so right now we have not set, once we click on edit, first we need to set to the student data. So for that reason, what we can do, first of all we need to add it here, like we need to pass, we need to define one on click function for this edit. We can use on click, and here for on click, like we can use this function, like we can say it's for handle or populate student. And to populate the student we can use props dot on props we can call cell, and on cell we can access row, and on row we can use original. So this is actually row data we are going to pass. Now here we need to define one constant for this one, constant, and here we are going to capture the row data into our, let's say it's the student, and here we are going to set student data with this student which we have passed. Now what we have done, this is on click of edit button we are calling this populate student, and this row data we are passing, and here we are capturing the row data into std, and we are setting the student data with this std data. Seems good. Now let us check. Once we click on edit button, now we can see the text boxes with is getting populated, and even the button label is getting changed. Seems good. Fine. Now once we update this record and click on update, it should get updated. So that part we can add now. Now this is our handle add edit part. Now here we can add a condition, because this is going to handle add and edit. Now if we can say like student data dot id is there, that means we should go for updation, or else if id is not there, that means it's a new record and we need to create a new student. And this is the code for creating a new student. Now we can add it here, and this is for updation. For updation we can add it here. Okay, now here for updation we can either use patch method or put method. We can use put method, and here we can use the backtick, and here inside this backtick we need to pass like the student data dot id, against which we are going to update the student data. So this constant will store will capture the updated data, whatever data we update, that will get stored into this one, and against this id we are going to update. That's it. Now let us see how it goes. This is about updation part. Now let us see, instead of David we can use let's say Peter, and here we can change it to the Peter, and we can keep the roll number like let's say 15, we can change, and we can click on update button. Now it is not getting updated, so let us see, check what is missing. Okay, so here we need to add slash, it should complete with slash. Now let us check. We can add David once again, and here instead of David we are going to add Peter, and it should be Peter, and we can say it's a instead of 14 we can say 15, and we can click on edit button. Now we can see the record is successfully edited. Similar way we can add update one more record to just confirm, like instead of Vivek we can use Sam, and here we can add Sam's Gmail, and we can keep the roll number as is. Now we can see Vivek is updated with Sam, or Sam is it is updated successfully. Now if we refresh, it is showing Sam. Okay, seems good. Now the record is getting updated, updation is working fine. Now let us do it here, like uh, save it. Now here, what next we can do, once we, so our addition and updation is working fine. Now let us focus on delete part. Once we, so before we go for deletion, now let us disable this button, like cancel button. Once we click on cancel, it should clear the data. So for that reason we can use, like here we can define one constant, and we can say show cancel, and we can say set show cancel, and here we can use state, and initially we can set it as a false, and we can save it. Now here initially it should be disabled, so for that reason, okay, so it is disabled, so it is not doing anything, fine. Now here we can, for this cancel button, we can say disabled, and here we can say show cancel. Initially it's a false and disabled is equal to true. Okay, now once we click on this cancel button, we need to add on click or handle cancel, and for this functionality we need to add a constant function for this one. And here what we can do, like we need to set student data as an empty, because we are going to cancel it, and after this, like we can say set show cancel as a true. You can save it. Now let us see. Now initially it is disabled, okay, initially it is disabled. Once we click on edit, it should show. So on click of edit, we need to enable it. So this is like our edit functionality, and this is like, so on change or the edit button, populate student. So this is the function, and here we need to set show cancel as in true, and here we can make it as a false because we have cleared cancel. Okay, fine. Now once we, initially it is disabled one, once we add, it is enabled, once we clear, it is cleared, and it is getting disabled. Seems good. Now next functionality we can implement, that is the delete functionality. Now let us go to delete button at here, and similar way we can copy this part for delete function. So this is for edit, and here is our delete, and here we can add on click, or we have copied it. Now instead of populate student, we can say it is the delete student, and we can define a constant similar to this one, and here we can say this is for delete, and here we are going to use async, and here we are capturing the student row, and here we are going to use, we can copy this part which is for put method and add it here, and instead of put, we can say it's a delete, and for deletion we do not need to pass the actual data, only id is enough, and id we should take from this row. Fine. Now we have completed the delete method. Let us add some confirmation on this, like we can say is confirmed it's we can use window.confirm, and here we can ask like, are you sure you want to delete? So it will ask for the confirmation dialog pop-up. It will open, and once we click on OK button, then only we are going to delete it. So for that reason we can cut this part, add into this if block. That means it has clicked the OK, and we can now delete the record. We can save it. Now after the deletion, now the list has been changed. So what we can do, we can use this part, copy this, and this is our this is our delete, and here we can set the response data for students. Now let us check the delete functionality. Let us go to the browser, it here, and we can check the delete functionality. Once we click on delete, let's say this is the SAM, and once we click on OK button, now the record is deleted, but only after we refresh that part. Now just to avoid that refresh, what we can do, like we can use window dot location dot reload. This function we can use so that we do not need to refresh it. Now let us check it once again. So this is our record. Once we click on delete, now this record should get deleted without even refreshing. Now yes, we can see the record is deleted. Our delete function is working fine. Now with this, like we have seen all the CRUD functionalities we have implemented and tested, these are working fine. Now let us check into the database part. It should show only 2 records. Yes, Sachin and Robert, because we have only 2 records which are Sachin and Robert. Seems good. Now we have implemented CRUD functionality. Now let us focus on our rest of the functionalities. Now let us implement our next functionality, which is like a search filter, searching, sorting, and pagination. So let us implement that part. Now first we can implement the search filter. Now here we can use the, like we have use global filter. We can use this, can copy, and we need to add it. So this is our table data, and here we can add this, and here we can use like set global filter, and here we can define one constant as an global filter, and here we can add state, it here, and we can save it. Now this is the global filter. Now we can use like we can go to our input box. So this is our input search, and here we can use like on change event, and here we can use like so before we add on change, we need to set the value part, it here, and here for value what we can do, we can set like it's a global filter, or initially it should be blank. Okay, so this is the global filter, and or it should be blank. Now for this on change, we can set global filter, and here we can pass e dot target dot value. This value will get set, like whatever we enter it here, that value will get set as an global filter. We can save it. Now let us check it. For that, let us add few more records so that we can see the search is whether it is working. Now let us add one more entry. Let's say it's a Vivek email. We can add vivek@gmail.com, and for roll number we can add 14, and we can add the record. Now we can add one more record. Let's say robert@gmail.com, and roll number we can keep 15, and we can add it. Now let us see here we can use, like, let's say for Sachin, yes, it is showing Sachin, and for we have two robots. Let us change one robot with, like, let's say it's a Ratan, and update. Seems good. Now let us check for R. It is showing two records for R because we have Ratan and Robert starting with R. Now let us add one more entry with Vimal, and here we can add vimal@gmail.com, and roll number we can use 16, and we can add it. Now we have Vivek and Vimal starting with vi. Okay, it is showing as expected. Now our filter is working fine. Now next thing what we can do, we can implement our sorting part on this table column. Now let us add for sorting we can use, like, we can add use sort by hook, and we can add it to our table. This is our table. After this we can add this, and to use this sort by we need to go to where we are entering our column data. So this is where we are entering our column, and here we can use, like, this is the column dot, we can use get sort by, and we can use toggle props, and we can save it. Get sort by toggle props. Okay, now let us see if our filter is working. Seems good, it is working. This is for name, and this is for email. This is for roll number. Seems good, it is working fine. Our sort is working fine. Now let us add some arrow, like up and down arrow, so that it will look good. Now after this header, we can add we can use column dot is sorted, and we can, after that we can use some span if it is sorted. Here we can add, like, column dot is sorted in descending order. Like, in that case we are going to add some up arrow, and we can use Windows colon to add the up arrow, and if it is not in descending order, then we can add down arrow. We can use Windows colon and select this down arrow. Now we can save it, and let us check how it works. Now here we can use on name. Yes, it is showing the arrow. Same for email, and this is for roll number. Seems good, it is showing as expected. Now we are done with our sorting functionality. Now let us implement our pagination. For that we can use this hook, use pagination, and we can add it to our use table, it here. Now for pagination, instead of rows we should use page, and we need to render on page. So we can come down, and wherever we are rendering on like iterating on row, we should use page. Seems good. Now next thing what we can do, like, after this table we are going to show one div. and this is for, like, we can say page div, pagination. And inside this we are going to add buttons, like first button is for first, and we can give some class name, like this is a page div btn. So this is the first button. Next we can add, likewise we can add four or three more buttons. This is for previous, and this is for next, and this is for last, and we can check how it is showing as expected. Okay, now let us add some css part for this one. This is the main div, and for main div we can add some margin top, which is simply 5 pixel. Seems good. Now next thing, like, we can add a main div button, and for that button we can add border 1 pixel solid. Next we can add a border radius, which is 5 pixel. Next we can add some font size, let's say it's a 10 pixel, and we can add line height, let's say 12 pixel, and we can add some width, let's say 45 pixel, and we can save it. Seems good. Now let us add some, like, margin left as an 5 pixel, and here we can add some background color. Now for background color we can take some background color like this. Seems good. Now it is showing all the buttons. We can take some light color than this one. Okay, fine. Now we have all the buttons in place. Now let us add functionality to all these buttons. Now once we click on next button, so initially now we have only 4-5 records. Now let us add a few more records so that it will show all the, we can see the pagination working. We can add one record, Vaishali, and this is Vaishali Gmail, and roll number we can add 17, and we can add this record. Similar way we can add one more record, let's say Smita, and here we can add smita@gmail.com. roll number we can take 18. We can take shiv@gmail.com, and roll number we can take 19. We can add one more record, like vidya@gmail.com, and roll number we can take 20, and we can add. Now let us take one more record, like we can add Prakash Gmail, we can add, and we can take 21 as a roll number. Seems good. We have enough records for the pagination part. Now let us add the functionality part, like whenever we click on previous button, like let's say first of all it should disable the one, whenever we are on first page, here it should show page index and page count. So let us add one span 8 here, and here we can use like page index, and we can use of page count. Now here we can add these two, it here in our use table. So here we can add page count, and here we can give some one comma, and here we can use page index, and we can save it. Now it is showing 0th of 1. Actually our page count should start from the 1 we are on the first page, so we can increment it by 1. Seems good. Now 1 of 1 it is showing. Now we want to show 4 record per page. So what we can do, here we can go to our use table, and here we can set the records. Here we can use like initial state, and here we can use page size as an 4 record per page, and we can save it. Now once we refresh it, now it is showing 4 records per page. Okay, seems good. Now we are on the first page, and this first and previous button we need to disable. Okay, so for that what we can do, here this is our first page, disabled we can use, and here we can use like we can use can previous page. If there is no previous page, the button should get disabled. Similar way, this is true for previous and first one. And for next button, we can use if we are on the last page, like if there is no next page, we can disable the next button, and here same for last button, we can save it. Now we need to add these entries in our use table hook, so let us add it here. Can next page and can previous page and can next page we can add, and we can save it. Seems good. Now we can see we are on the first page and these two buttons are disabled as expected. Now we can add some space it here, like we can go back to here and we can add some class name, like this is for page idx, page index, and we can add some margin left, we can say margin left, let's say 5 pixel, and we can save it. Now page idx, and we need to save it. Seems good. Now it is showing some space. Now whenever we click on next page, it should show next 4 records. Likewise it should keep on showing for next page. Now let us add that functionality. Now on click we can use, like here we can say next page, and similar way for previous button we can say it's a previous page. Now let us add next page and previous page entries at our use table hook. This is here we can add previous page, and here we need to add next page, and we can save it. Now let us check how it works. Once we click on next button, it should show next 4 records. Seems good. It is showing as expected, and we are on the last page, which is the third page, and now next and last button is disabled, which is as expected. Now we can go to previous page. It will take us to the previous page. Likewise, once we reach on first page, the first and previous button will get disabled. Seems good. Now let us implement the last and first button functionality. Once we click on last button, it should take us to the last page. Now here we can use go to page, and we can implement to last page and first page. Now here we can say on click, here we are going to go to for last, like we can say it's a page count last -1, because this is the last page. Similar way we need to call for first page, it should show first page. For that we can use it's a first page is at 0th index. Now we can save it. 0 means first and page count -1 means last. Now we can save it and check. Once we click on last button, it is showing last page, and once we click on first button, it is showing first page. So with this, like, we are done with all our functionality which we have committed before we start our video. So I hope you must have enjoyed this. Please do not forget to like, subscribe and share. So thank you so much for watching this.